I do accept bribes and I can be flattered. So hey, you never know. It's Alexis Fox, mom to two sets of twins under 4 years old. Gasp, I know, yes, it's true. Because I have two sets of twins, a lot of people ask me a lot of questions. I gathered up some of the ones that I get all of the time, and I'm going to answer them now in this video. But of course, if there are other questions that you have or other things that you want to know about me and the crew, let me know in the comments and I will definitely answer them in an upcoming video. And of course, do not forget to subscribe and leave me a comment and a like. And now let's get into these questions. Do I ever wish that I had one baby instead of two? That is like, honestly, a loaded question, I feel like, because obviously, oh, spray that in my eye. Obviously now I can't imagine not having all four of my little angels, right? But twin pregnancies were really hard. I have no idea what like a singleton pregnancy would have looked like for me. Maybe it would have been just as hard or hard in a different way. But there was just certain things that like I wanted to do or like I always imagined doing, whether it was pregnant or as like a mom with one baby, especially so like for my first pregnancy. I don't want to say I wish it, but I am interested in like what that experience would have looked like for me. But I just know that that was not a journey that was meant for me, so that's fine. I'll take it. Okay, this is a good question. It's a question I get all the time. And I bet a lot of other moms of multiples get it too. And that's, were my pregnancies natural or were they like IVF or like another fertility treatment? And both of my pregnancies were spontaneous twins. I mean, I was shocked for both sets, but like the first set, it was funny because my husband, my brother, and my mom all thought it was twins, like differently. They all had dreams and like were thinking it was twins. And then I was so sick right off the bat. I was so sick. And so some of my mom's other nurse friends were like, well, it's probably twins and like all the extra hormones are what's making her so sick. And so then of course, fast forward to the first ultrasound and everybody was right. I was in denial. I was like, I'm not having twins, like that's crazy. So then for the second time, I was like, okay. I was just thinking like, wow, this pregnancy is gonna feel so easy to me. The newborn stage is gonna feel so easy to me because I'm just gonna have one baby. And maybe it was me thinking all that that made it false, because we went in that ultrasound and the ultrasound tech was like, oh, how are you guys? And we were like, oh, good. And then I was like, we're good, girl. We're just hoping to see one baby today. And then she's like, okay. And then she puts the thing on and then she's like, girl. And I was like, what? And she was like, and me and my husband looked at it and, you know, obviously we know from experience what that looks like. And so he was like, can you check again? Like, it was so funny. I mean, we were just in shock. Like, he just kind of like was laughing, but I was sitting there like, oh my God. And then I just immediately started thinking about like all the pain I was in and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, back to the question, right? The bigger question I think is like, am I offended by that? So obviously I'm somebody who shares a lot, right? Like I'm pretty open. I'm online telling you all types of things about me all the time. And so I'm like pretty much an open book, you know, about stuff. So it doesn't really offend me per se, but I do think that I don't know if I think that we're at a place in society where that's polite or proper conversation. You know what I mean? Because just because I don't really care if you ask me. And the other thing is, you know why I don't care if you ask me? Because I didn't go through fertility struggles. I didn't, you know, have all the hardship, physical, mental, emotional, financial hardships of getting pregnant to get the babies, right? And so I think that maybe people who did go through all of that might feel a little more sensitive about you being like, oh, well, was that natural? Because it's just like, and then saying, was it natural? Makes it seem that as though there's something like unnatural about their babies. You know what I mean? So I would say, stay away from that question if you don't know the people that well. It's really odd when it's strangers, you know, and I get it. People are curious because they see multiple twins walking around. They're like, oh my gosh, because, you know, twins aren't like the most common thing, I guess. I mean, they're more common than like triplets or quads or something, but you know, whatever. So I guess that's my opinion on that. One of the first things I always tell people, like if it's like someone who's newly pregnant and they come to me, I'm like, listen, you're not a woman anymore. You're a pregnant person. And I say that because people start to ask you all types of things that they would have never asked you before. I remember a man that I worked with my first time around, like had recently had his wife had recently had a baby or whatever. So he starts talking to me about like breastfeeding and like tactics and supplies and things that he like was recommending, I guess, that had like really helped them, which while on the one hand was like, oh, he like is so excited and wants to like share tips and talk with me about this. On the other hand, I'm like, 2 weeks ago, before you knew I was pregnant, we wouldn't have gotten on here and had a conversation like that had anything to kind of even do with my breasts. You know what I'm saying? And so like that was like that interesting thing. And then of course, you know, people want to touch you and, you know, touch your belly and stuff. And some people are okay with it and some people are not. And, you know, even just like the way that like once people ask your due date, it's like if they wanted to, they can basically time out like when you and your partner were like, you know, making the baby. And so it's like all like your privacy and stuff kind of goes out the window in a lot of ways. Someone said, be honest, do you secretly have a favorite twin? Well, of course I do. My favorite twin is whoever is pleasing me most that day, or even heck in that moment. You know, I mean, I'm kidding. There's like no favorites. They all do different things that are like my favorite about them. You know, they have very different personalities. So there's just different things that they're my favorite about, if that makes sense. So it's like not like, oh, that's my favorite, but it's like, oh, this one has my favorite sense of humor, and so, you know, is my favorite cuddle bug. They're all just so different. So I just have favorite things, different favorite things about all of them. Now, who knows? Maybe that will change. Maybe one of them is gonna grow up to be like the biggest mommy suck up, and maybe they'll, you know, manage to get mine to become my favorite. I'm just kidding. But you know, I do accept bribes and I can be flattered. So hey, you never know. What's your secret for getting 2 toddlers and 2 babies out of the house in under 20 minutes? Okay, first of all, I don't know who told you I could get them out of the house in 20 minutes. Whoever told you that, the lie detector test determined that was a lie. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't really timed how quickly I could get them out of the house, and that really depends on a lot of factors. However, since I plan literally everything, for the most part, my diaper bags stay packed. If we're out and I come back and I know I've used something, then I just immediately replace it once we get home, because I don't want to forget, or heaven forbid we are in a rush, like I'll forget, right? So there's that. All of their clothes are purchased in outfits, and the outfits go with each other. For the most part, I just like buy 2 of, well, for the girls especially, 2 of everything, and then if I can get it in the little girl size, I'll even get her one at this point. So then I know if twin A is wearing this, twin B is wearing this, and you know, that's just what it is. If for some reason there isn't 2, because sometimes there aren't 2 in the same size depending on where you're shopping, or if it's like super cute, like 2 different colors or something, then I'll get both. But again, I'll know that like it's in the same vibe. So if it's like a sweatshirt and pants, then it's like another sweatshirt and pants. And then I do the same with the boy-girl twins. So if I'm getting like a sweat type of, you know, a sweatsuit outfit, then they both get a sweatsuit. If I'm getting a shorts outfit, then they both get a shorts outfit. And then it's all the same vibe. So then when I have to get everybody ready, I don't have to sit here, piece together outfits at all, because everything was already purchased as an outfit. And I know that everybody has an outfit in the same genre. And so that's just how I do it. It works really well. I think a lot of times people are just looking around trying to figure out who's gonna wear what. And then the other thing is pre-doing their hair. So like my girls have a ton of hair, and it's not, you know, for the most part, it's not just like easy ponytail hair, you know, like it has to be detangled and combed and styled and whatever. And so if I know we're going out or whatever, then I'll pre-do their hair the day before or like earlier in the day or whatever, so that at the last minute I'm not looking at, you know, oh no, and I have to do all these heads of hair, because there are 3 girls and my son also has a lot of hair that also needs some TLC. It's just planning. I get started early, like I said. Diaper bags are already packed, and while everybody's napping or whatever, then I'm packing water cups, packing snacks, whatever it is that I know I'm gonna need. I do it all well before it's time to go, so that in those last, because no matter what I feel like, no matter how well planned I am, in those last few minutes before we have to go, you know, someone's gotta go potty, or someone poops their diaper, or spills something, or whatever, and you just have to kind of plan that extra time in. So if we really need to be on time for something, then I kind of tell myself that it's like, you know, 15 to 30 minutes earlier than it really is, so that I know that we'll get out of the house with enough time to not be like absolutely rushing and whatnot. One of the big things that I do, and I think probably is what helps me the most, is that I'll get up before everybody, get myself, like, do my hair, do my makeup, whatever, have my clothes ready, but I don't put them on because of course they're going to get me dirty. You know what I mean? In one way or another, someone somehow is going to get me dirty or wet or whatever. And so I just will wear a robe. Once everybody's ready and like has their shoes on, literally, if my husband's also going or whoever, I'll like have whoever it is start getting them loaded into the car, and then I will go upstairs and change my clothes. Did your twins' pregnancies strengthen or wreck your marriage? I love that they use the word wreck because like that's just like I guess like let's say my marriage was wrecked. Well, no, people do, but I'm like, would I come on here and tell you that? No, it did not wreck our marriage. You know, it's very interesting. I think it strengthened our marriage because John and I were like very newlyweds, you know, and I was pregnant and whatnot and having a hard pregnancy, and he had to support me in a lot of ways very early on in our marriage that I think really built that trust between us, you know, because I mean, there was a time I was in the bathtub and I started throwing up because I got like overheated and whatever, and I couldn't get out of the tub because I was huge, and he had to come like get me out of the tub, shower me off, clean up all my puke, you know. And I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And he was just doing it like no nothing, no fuss, no muss. He just like, get in the bed, you need to rest, like whatever. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Eventually I was on bed rest. He brought me my meals in bed, like all these things, and it just really built up so much trust. I trusted him so much, and then he could feel that I was like allowing him to take care of me and rely on him and whatnot. And yeah, I think it really strengthened our marriage in a lot of ways. This person put twin pregnancy, but maybe they're just also meaning like having twins. When our kids are really losing their marbles, like the things that we'll say to each other, we look at each other and we'll be like, us versus them, us versus them, us versus them, you know, because it's like, it's easy to like start to get frustrated and be like, no, like do this and like help me with this and da da da. And it's like, okay, yes, it's frustrating. The kids are being bad, whatever, but like we're on the same team. But it's the frustration of dealing with them that might make us talk sharply to one another or be frustrated or be like, oh, you forgot to buy milk or like whatever, right? And it's like, that's what's making us be that. It's not really how we feel about each other. It's the frustration of dealing with them. And of course, we're not going to be like that to them because they're babies, they're little kids. They don't deserve our frustration, you know? And so I think that that's probably the biggest thing to remember when you are in those moments. It's just like our fun little thing that we do, and it like recenters us, makes us feel better about whatever parenting woe we're facing. And then we can just kind of like move on from there. How do you keep your identity and glam alive while caring for two sets of twins? That's an interesting question. A lot of people ask me that. And one part of the answer is just that I have a really, really good support system that not only steps up so that I can do things for myself when I need to and things like that, but like insists upon it. Sometimes my mom will be like, hey, like, drop the kids off today, or like I can come, you know, what are you guys doing? Did you guys want to go out this weekend? I don't have any plans for XYZ day. We'll come over and feed the kids dinner and put them to bed or something like that, you know, like little things like that where it's so amazing because I didn't have to ask for it, right? We try to like not ask all the time for like help and whatnot, right? And save it for like the times we really need it. My husband's really big on making sure I get breaks and time to myself and time to pour into the things that I'm interested in. And again, he insists on that, or will insist that I like, you know, spend time with friends or whatever so that I can kind of, you know, keep my vibes strong. And then at the end of the day, it also just comes down to me. I have to figure out how to make the time, how to create the space for myself, and how to not feel guilty about taking it. And I think that's probably the hardest part for a lot of us moms, is feeling like we don't deserve it for some reason. I feel like I learned it pretty quick that if I'm not at my best, no one else in the house is gonna be at their best either, because I'm not giving to them what they need. And everybody needs me. My husband needs me, my kids need me, everybody's looking to mom for something. I'm not one of those people who like doesn't want that identity. I know some people are like, I'm more than that, like whatever. Yes, we are more, but it doesn't mean that we can't lean into this piece, right? Like it's such a special role to have, you know, especially that like to be a mother. And so for me, like that's special, that's sacred, that's a blessing, and I love that. Like, I love to just be like, I'm like known as a mom. Like, I'm a mom, you know, like I love it. I know everybody doesn't, but I also know that I'm still I'm me, like, but I'm like the mom version of me, you know, because I'm never not going to be a mom. Like, even when my kids are grown, like I'm still going to be a mom. What would I do different if I had twins again? Faint, cry, sob. No, just kidding. What would I do different? I mean, the crazy thing is I already got to do it again, and I feel like I did most of the things different already that I would have done different. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I might have to come back to that one. I don't know that there's like any one specific thing that I would do differently, because I already got a chance to do it again. So that's really hard to say. Yeah, that's really hard to say. I don't know. I don't know. How do you actually keep track of, who ate, slept, pooped, all the things without losing your mind? Everybody has a schedule, right? As long as we stick to our schedule, then all the things that are supposed to happen for everybody will happen. Of course, in the early days when you're really trying to make sure that babies, you know, get enough milk and enough wet diapers and all of that, again, the schedule. And I mean, when I say we were on a schedule, it's like a schedule. Like, obviously the first little bit of time when they're just like eating on demand, but then after that, once they can hit those like 3-hour stretches or whatever, it was just like every 3 hours. I don't care if you were asleep or what, you were getting up, you were going to eat, especially during the day. You're gonna get all your calories in so that hopefully you sleep as long as possible at night. And we kind of had like a 15-minute grace period on that schedule. And I mean, we lived by it in those early days. And then that schedule just evolves to the point where, like, again, now we have the schedule, and then each pair of twins kind of has a schedule within a schedule. And so again, as long as they're doing all of those things, then I kind of know what's up with everybody, and I do everything at the same time. So like, if they get vitamins, they get their vitamins at the same time, so that I know I did it to both. Like, even if one kid's up earlier, I'm not like, here's your vitamin and let me remember to give someone else their vitamin. No, because I'll literally lose it. And then with appointments and checkups, we usually, you know, I do the OGs and then I do the newbies. And so they're always on the same schedule for everything. I haven't done an appointment with all 4 yet. However, our dentist and our pediatrician have all convinced me to do our next checkups with all 4. And so assuming that I'm brave enough to go through with it, I will definitely be letting everybody know how that goes, because my preference is to kind of do 2 at a time. But then of course, that's just like more appointments when maybe I could do it not like that. So I'm gonna try it and see what I think and go from there. Here's an example of something though. Right now everybody's sick, so people are getting medicine. So I am writing that down. So I do have like, I've got whiteboards kind of all over the house for like little notes and things I may need to take in. So then I can write on there who had what medicine and at what time, so that we can keep track. Because then like, if my husband walks by and notices that someone's fever's amping back up, then he doesn't have to come find me and be like, who had what? And then I don't have to think like, oh, was it so-and-so? Like, we know. And so everybody's on the same page. And then we also have like a lot of like color-coded things. So like, everybody has like their own cups and things like that. So I can kind of keep track of like whose water have I refilled multiple times today? Whose have I not? You know, that type of thing. If you're curious about like our particular like systems and stuff, I'm happy to answer more specific questions about that, or like talk about that more. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my hair up, and hopefully this is going to look very cute tomorrow. Let me know if you have questions you want me to answer. Let me know in the comments, of course, and I will definitely answer them. And do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, all of the things, so that I can keep making you these videos. Talk to you later. Bye.